Pure bullshit.
I'm sorry, what was that?
No, seriously. That is a direct, verbatim quote from a G7 world leader.
You're kidding.
Not at all. And he wasn't, venting about his commute or a bad meal. He was talking about the internet.
Okay. I think I know where this is going. You're talking about French President Emmanuel Macron.
I am. It's Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. And look, tech regulation can be this very dry topic, right?
Absolutely. Brussels, D.C., lots of paperwork.
Exactly. But what just happened in New Delhi, this is different. Macron is there speaking at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and he didn't just criticize things. He took a flamethrower to the entire tech industry's favorite defense.
It really feels like the diplomatic gloves didn't just come off. They were thrown on the floor and set on fire.
Right. So welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're unpacking this massive escalation. We're going to get into this new idea Macron's pushing called free algorithms. We'll break down the full-on showdown happening between Europe and the Trump administration, which is way past just angry tweets now.
Way past.
And finally, we'll look at the global push to just kick kids off social media altogether.
And we should be really clear right at the top. The stakes here, they're not just rhetorical anymore. We are talking visa bans, threats of a trade war.
A real transatlantic showdown.
It's a fundamental disagreement on who gets to control the internet.
And we're all caught in the middle.
Yeah.
So let's start with that phrase, pure bullshit. It's not exactly standard diplomatic language.
No, it's pretty blunt. To get the anger, you have to understand what he's responding to.
Which is?
It's that classic defense from the big American social media companies. Anytime a government tries to regulate them, they say, if you touch our algorithms, you're attacking free speech.
The First Amendment defense.
Right.
Don't mess with our code, you're a censor.
Precisely. And Macron is basically saying he's not buying it anymore. He's rejecting that whole idea. His point is, you can't have free speech if the thing delivering it is a total black box. He said, and I want to get this exactly right, free speech is pure bullshit if nobody knows how you're being guided through this so-called free speech.
So let's unpack that. That distinction feels crucial. He's separating the speech, the content, from the guide, the algorithm.
Yes. Think of it like this. You walk into a huge library, you can pick any book. That's free speech. The info's there, you have agency.
Okay, makes sense.
But what if when you walked in, the librarian grabbed you, put a blindfold on, and literally shoved you down one specific aisle?
And probably not the history aisle.
Exactly. Imagine they only shoved books into your hands about, I don't know, conspiracies or radical ideologies, then take the blindfold off and say, look at all this freedom. You chose to read this.
That's
Wow.
a terrifying image. You think you're choosing, but you're actually being herded.
That is Macron's entire point. He argues these opaque algorithms are secretly guiding users. And he was very specific. He said they guide people from one piece of hate speech to another.
So if you don't know why you're seeing something, you're not actually free. You're just a passenger on a ride you didn't choose.
You got it.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. Isn't that just curation? I mean, a newspaper editor decides what goes on the front page. Why is an algorithm bullshit, but an editor is just an editor?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? The difference from the European perspective comes down to transparency and intent.
Okay.
You know who the editor of the New York Times is? You know a human made a choice. With an algorithm, the choice is made by a model that's just optimized for engagement.
And engagement often means rage or shock.
Right. And sometimes not even the engineers who built it can tell you exactly why it picked one video over another.
So Macron's not saying ban the speech, he's saying show us the map.
Correct. And he actually coined a new term for it in this speech. Free algorithms. He said, some claim to be in favor of free speech. We are in favor of free algorithms, fully transparent ones.
Free algorithms. It's catchy, but it really gets at that feeling we all have when we're scrolling, you know? You think, oh, I chose to watch this, but maybe you didn't. Maybe the machine just nudged you.
And that aha moment is what's driving this entire regulatory push in Europe. But, and this is where it gets incredibly complicated, the United States government sees this very, very differently.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us to part 2 here, the fallout. Because Macron isn't just saying this for fun. This is a direct shot across the bow at the foreign policy of President Donald Trump.
And the Trump administration is not taking it well. Not at all. We have to go back just a couple of months to December to see how tense this has become.
This isn't just words anymore.
No, we're talking actual sanctions.
Sanctions against allies. We normally use those for, hostile states.
Well, visa bans specifically. Back in December, Washington slapped visa bans on 5 European officials.
Wow. Who did they ban?
The biggest name on that list, by far, is Thierry Breton.
Thierry Breton. Wait, the former EU commissioner.
The very same.
Hold on. Thierry Breton is a bureaucrat. He gives speeches in Brussels. He was the main architect of the Digital Services Act, the DSA. Why in the world is the U.S. government banning him from the country?
Because the DSA is the law that gives Europe the power to regulate American platforms. The Trump administration basically said the people who write these laws are no longer welcome.
That's wild.
I mean, think about it. Putting a former EU commissioner on a visa ban list, that's the diplomatic equivalent of flipping the table over at dinner.
It's a huge escalation. So what was the official justification? They can't just say, we don't like your laws.
Well, they sort of did. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was very direct. He said the administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship.
Extraterritorial censorship. That sounds like a legal declaration of war.
It's a very specific worldview. The Trump administration is framing European rules like forcing platforms to take down hate speech as Europe trying to censor Americans.
I see. So the logic is if Europe makes X, formerly Twitter, change its algorithm for users in France.
That change might just get rolled out for everyone. It's what people call the Brussels effect. It's just easier for a company to have one global standard, and that standard becomes the strictest one.
So Washington sees it as Paris making laws for people in Texas.
Exactly, a violation of American sovereignty and American corporate interests. And they're not just stopping with visa bans. There have been serious warnings about tariffs.
A trade war over content moderation. We could end up paying more for French wine because Europe wants to regulate TikTok.
It's on the table. And Macron knows this is coming. He told European papers last month that the U.S. will surely challenge us on this. He even used the word battle.
And yet here he is in New Delhi, not backing down at all. He's turning up the heat.
He is, and the choice of venue, that's no accident either. He's trying to build a new kind of coalition.
That's a perfect segue. Let's talk about that. Why India? Why give this pure bullshit speech at a medical institute in New Delhi? It's a very specific choice.
The timing is everything. It's February 18th, 2026. Right now, the AI Impact Summit 2026 is happening in New Delhi.
Ah, so all eyes in the tech world are already there.
Right. But it's also the first global AI summit ever hosted in the Global South. So Macron is sending a message that this isn't just a Europe versus America fight.
That's a global issue.
It's a global issue.
Yeah.
And he praised India for, quote, joining the movement on this.
That's a clever strategic move. Because if it's just Europe versus the U.S., maybe Europe gets steamrolled. But Europe and India? That's a huge part of the global population.
It is. The next billion internet users aren't coming from the West. They're in the global South. If India sides with Europe on things like free algorithms and online safety, the American free speech absolutist model could become the minority view.
That's a massive shift. So Macron's trying to build a kind of humanist internet alliance to counter the corporate internet.
That's a really good way to put it. And India is already talking about its own age restrictions and deepfake rules, so he's on friendly ground. Which brings us to the policy that's maybe causing the most friction of all.
The ban for minors.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's get into this because as a parent, this is the part that really jumps out. We're not just talking about making things safer for kids. We're talking about a full ban.
A full ban. France is pushing to ban social media for anyone under the age of 15. And they want to do it by September 2026.
September, so just a few months away.
Very soon. And it's not just them. Australia has already moved this way, and the EU Parliament is calling for a Europe-wide minimum age of 16.
16. That's basically all of high school. No TikTok, no Instagram, no Snapchat for anyone under 16.
Gone. And you have to think about the business side of this. If you cut out everyone under 16, you are slashing advertising revenue.
And you're stopping them from hooking the next generation of users.
That's the big one. I mean, look at the companies listed in the source material. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.
And interestingly, it says Elon Musk's Apple X.
A very specific phrasing. Whether that's about the X app on Apple devices or just lumping all the giants together, the point is the same.
Yeah.
The biggest tech companies in the world, mostly American, are set to lose billions.
Which explains why the Trump administration is reacting so strongly. It's not just about ideology, it's about the U.S. economy.
It's a potent mix of free speech principles and protecting powerful American corporations. But, and here's where this deep dive gets really tricky, there's a really good counter-argument against these bans that has nothing to do with corporate profits.
Okay, what is it? Because on the surface, protect kids Sounds impossible to argue with.
Privacy advocates, and for a very good reason. They call it the privacy paradox.
The privacy paradox. Okay, what's the paradox?
It's about enforcement. It sounds simple to say no one under 15 allowed, but online, how do you actually prove someone is 14 versus 45 without, destroying anonymity?
I guess you'd have to ask for ID.
Exactly. You have to verify identity, and that is the trap. There is a researcher, Dr. Beloga from the Center for European Policy Analysis, who raised a huge red flag on this.
What did she say?
She warned that when platforms become arbiters of identity, the safest corporate response is to collect more evidence than necessary.
Oh, I see where this is headed. So to keep a 14-year-old off Instagram, I, a 35-year-old, might have to upload my driver's license or scan my face just to log in.
That's the most likely outcome, yes. The platforms can't risk the fines, so they'll just over-verify everybody.
But wait, a lot of people might say that's a fair trade. I mean, if the cost of protecting my kid is I have to upload a copy of my passport to Meta, maybe that's worth it. Why is that so dangerous?
Because once that system is built, it fundamentally changes what the internet is. It could mean the end of online anonymity. Dr. Beloga put it very bluntly. Authoritarian governments love identity-linked access to exert control.
So if you build a system to catch teenagers, you've also built a system that can catch political dissidents or whistleblowers.
Precisely. If every single account is tied to a government ID, there's no such thing as an anonymous source. There's no organizing a protest in a country where that's illegal. You're always traceable.
That is a chilling thought. You start by trying to save kids from bad algorithms, from pure bullshit, and you accidentally build a global surveillance machine where everything you say is tied to your real name.
It is the classic security versus liberty trade-off. Macron says the algorithms are a threat, so we need control. But the tools for that control might mean handing over our government IDs to the very same corporations we say we don't trust.
Which is so ironic. We don't trust them with our screen time, but we're going to trust them with our passports.
That's the contradiction right at the heart of this whole debate, and it shows why this is about so much more than just a few harsh words in New Delhi. It's about the future architecture of the internet.
Are we anonymous users on a wild, free web? Or are we verified citizens in a regulated, gated digital space?
And depending on if you live in the US or Europe, you could be getting a very different answer to that question very, very soon. We are watching the internet splinter in real time.
This has been a lot to process. I mean, we've gone from one profane quote to visa bans, and now to the possible end of online anonymity.
It's a heavy day for tech news. But this isn't theory anymore. The French ban has a September deadline. The US visa bans are already in effect. This is all happening right now.
So let's try to wrap this up. What are the big takeaways for everyone listening today?
I'd say there are three main things. First is that philosophical shift. The whole concept of free algorithms. Macron is changing the debate from content moderation to algorithmic transparency.
Right. It's not what you're allowed to say. It's about seeing how the machine is pushing you around.
Second is the geopolitical explosion. The US and the EU are in a diplomatic Cold War over this. We have visa bans on officials like Terry Breton and threats of tariffs from the Trump administration.
A complete ideological split.
And third is the global movement for minors and that privacy paradox we talked about. There is this huge coordinated push to get kids off social media. But the cost could be the end of anonymity for all of us.
It feels like 2026 is the year the permanent rules of the internet are finally being written.
The Wild West era is definitely over. The fences are going up. Now it's just a fight over who owns the land and who gets the keys to the gate.
That's a great way to put it. And it leads to the final question we want to leave you all with today. We talked about Macron's idea, that you can't be free if an algorithm is secretly guiding you.
Right.
But think about the alternative the critics are warning about. If the only way to free ourselves from those algorithms is to link our online accounts to our real-world government IDs, is that actually freedom?
That is the question.
If true free speech requires knowing why you see what you see, is any timeline we scroll through actually free right now? Or is the freedom to be anonymously manipulated just another kind of trap?
Something to think about the next time you open an app, or you're asked to scan your face to prove who you are.
Absolutely. Thanks for going deep with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll see you in the next one. Stay curious.